Hi, I'm Natalie Ryan Hebert, founder of the Red Tent program for premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and I'm joined today with my lovely client Michelle, who I haven't seen for a couple of months, and her hair was growing really long. I was very impressed by that. And she's here just to tell her story and just to share with you watching. You may have PMDD yourself and wonder, is there really any way to improve this condition? So Michelle's going to share her story. So hi, Michelle. Thank you for coming, being with me. So to begin with, where were you when you first found me? How were things in your life with the symptoms you were experiencing?
Yeah, good question. So I was pretty much at on my last rope as far as figuring out what I could do to treat PMDD. I had always known I had it. And I was just carrying an incredible amount of anger, rage, resentment prior to finding you. So I had actually reached out to PMD, which is an international group for women who are struggling with menstrual disorders. I was lucky enough to speak with a woman named Karen, and I shared with her just different experiences I was having, found it a really safe place to open up. So I told her all of the things that I had tried in the past. I have a background in nursing, so I had tried all of the interventions that were available to me, medications. I tried birth control. I was in therapy, and I still just wasn't meeting with success month to month. It was just like I kept falling off the wagon just with the luteal phase of my period.
Mm.
So she had shared with me that she had been going to do the Red Tent program with you. And I said, you know what? I have nothing to lose. And if I can even just get a little bit better, it would be 100% worth it. I was excited because it was medication free. Not that I'm against medication, but I just wasn't responding as well as I wanted to. And it just wasn't meeting my needs during that phase of my cycle. So then I came to and I felt like it felt right to me. Just intuitively, I felt like this was going to be something that was going to help me.
Yeah.
So.
And you're a nurse, and so many of my clients are nurses. It's really amazing. It's almost like you're a nurse. Okay,
Yeah.
what a surprise. And that really goes into this empathy, creativity part of women who tend to have, if you have PMDD, then generally it goes hand in hand that you're also going to be highly empathetic, and creativity or creative or both. So nurses are a lot of my clients are nurses just like you, with this nursing background, a lot of caring for other people, and it's this double-edged sensitivity sword where you can feel others, but you can also feel your own stuff. So it's working on healing that stuff that we carry that allows you to keep the sensitivity, so you don't have to numb it out with medication so that you don't feel so much, but you can still feel, but not have to carry everything that you are feeling every month, especially when it's exacerbated by the hormonal shift. And so you joined the Red Tent, you took this big leap, and you thought, okay, she's in Copenhagen, this Australian woman with this, but it felt right. And so you began the Red Tent program. And how would what was that like? What was your experience of the 8 weeks or so that you had with rapid transformational therapy and the online training and the group sessions with the other women who are on the, in the same situation?
Yeah, good question. It was a bit of an experience for me, just kind of stepping back and saying, it's time I need to take care of myself. So it was definitely different being the one being helped as opposed to trying to help. So I had to kind of get through that part. But at the same time, going through the program, I looked forward to every session. I committed myself fully to the experience. I just allowed myself to be really raw and honest and put my faith in, if this was going to work for me, then I had to really expose my soul, you know, and really just try to work on what I'd been holding away from people. But the other thing is, like, I found that the support group part of the program was immensely helpful. You know, on the Sundays, I would look forward to talking to the other women who were dealing with this. And I found that the more honest I was, you know, the more open everyone else was. So we just kind of, you know, supported each other. It's hard to, when you're dealing with PMDD, you really do feel like you're the only one. And a lot of times the doctors, even though they try to help, you know, you definitely feel like you're alone in the battle. So when you're, I thought I would struggle the most with the support groups just because I'm more introverted. Like, even doing this right now is not something that's in my nature, but I just know that this helps so many women. So it's nice to see, like, we had people in our group from Ireland and Australia, and it just really, I hate to feel like people are struggling that much around the world, but at the same time, it was like, okay, you know, it's global. Like, this isn't just me. All of the women had a lot of the same feelings and emotions and battles, and it was nice. So, I mean, throughout the program, I felt like I was just committing myself to healing, and that experience really meant everything to me. So I enjoyed all of the sessions, but also all of the support group interactions. And I felt very safe during the entire process.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cocoon, isn't it? You know,
It is.
yeah, yeah, it's really wonderful, and I learned so much too. With my clients, teach me so much. I learn all the time from not just the RTT sessions where I think that's why this, and you know, this. I join the dots too, and every time I have a new client, I learn something. I have a little bit more of understanding of the map that is the human psyche, and the sorts of things that the lengths we will go to protect ourselves, and to protect ourselves where we don't even sometimes need to, because we're hiding something we think is shameful, where we shouldn't have even had the shame to start with. And, you know, so it is really so fascinating.
I had so much shame around the anger experience. And but at the same time, I knew it was my responsibility to fix that, you know. And so going into the meetings and talking to you about it, talking to the other women about it, it's hard as a woman to say I'm experiencing anger. Like, it just feels like it's not something you're supposed to have. So I felt a lot of shame around that emotion. And again, it was like I really didn't understand where it was coming from or why I was carrying it until we did the RTT. And then I figured, you know, or you helped me figure it out where it was coming from. And then I was like, oh, okay, you know, that needs healing. That's why this is coming up for me. You know, and until that's addressed, you can't move forward. But I also said, you know what, I'm just gonna, like, let it all out and, you know, tell the world, like, it's time. I have anger with my periods, and it's awful and I hate it, but I'm just going to let this experience be. And the only way I can get through it is if I'm really honest about it. So, yeah.
And it's so, you know, vulnerability is the most courageous thing, isn't it? You know, we think about being tough and toughen up, and I'm not going to show. The vulnerability is the brave thing, isn't it? How much courage it takes. And it is so wonderful that you said, you know, that I don't show you it, you show you it. The brilliant thing about RTT is everything is inside of you. It's such a cliche, I know, but you have everything in you, don't you? Everything that you needed to see, your subconscious mind said, oh, sure, I'll show you why you're so angry. If you want to understand it, it's this. And you went, is that what it is?
Yes.
And then knowing that with your adult understanding, you could see how little child you had built up this anger and what it was there to do for you. But you could also see that as an adult now, it wasn't serving you anymore. It didn't serve the purpose it was created for. Nor was it necessary anymore, because you're not that little vulnerable, dependent child anymore. You're a grown woman with power now to make choice.
Right.
So the whole setup was completely, you know, back in the 90s and outdated and just needs to be deleted. We don't even need it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
Exactly.
and that's the freedom. It's your own understanding that frees you. It's not something that I tell you about yourself or anything. It's you tell you, and that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. I don't need to even know anything about a person's issue before they come in. I mean, I do tend to have a lot of back catalogue now. I've had hundreds of clients, so I sort of see patterns for sure. But I trust that my client has the answer themselves. I just need to help them connect and to see it. So yeah,
Right.
that's the wonderful thing. Yeah, and then there's the metacognitive psychology side of things too, where you're getting back in charge of your
Yep.
own thinking and being, oh yeah, I've got thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. I'm the one that's thinking the thoughts. How did you find that worked for you?
Honestly, I loved those exercises just because, well, put it this way, I loved that the program encompassed all aspects. I had your support, the group support, the RTT, which was dealing with my subconscious, and then the metacognitive side of it was really helpful in just dealing with my conscious thoughts. And I liked that because it was like I felt like connections were loosening a little bit with the RTT that allowed me to better make use of the metacognitive skills.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. They work in partnership, don't they? The more
yes.
presence you have, the more choice you have over the thoughts you think, the better it is, because the subconscious throws up all these thoughts all day long. So, and like I use a lot of analogies, don't I? It's like, you can't decide what the sushi chef is going to put onto the sushi tray, but you can choose which sushi plates you're going to take forward.
Right.
So the sushi chef's the subconscious, the sushi plates are your thoughts, and you are you choosing which thoughts to think. So the metacognitive is making you realize, oh, I actually have a choice over which of these sushi plates I take off. If I don't like salmon, why would I take it forward? And the RTT is like having a chat with the sushi chef going, I actually don't like salmon. Can you stop making so much of it? Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. I'll make tuna. Tuna, is that good? Yeah, tuna's good. Like that's the analogy, right? That's kind of what we're doing. We're having a sushi restaurant. You know how I love my metaphors, but yeah.
I do. Yeah, but I mean, I really found it helpful, especially just being more aware of what I was doing with the thoughts too. So, definitely doing the armchair exercise, for example. I know a lot of the women in the group really loved that one. But I really didn't realize that I was judging every single thought that was coming into my head. And I mean, it was constant. So it was nice to practice or exercise the ability to allow thoughts to come in without judgment, which was a challenge, but one that I was trying to accept, just because I realized throughout this process, I'm like the prosecutor, the judge, the jury to to everything. I didn't realize how difficult that was for me, until this program where I was just like, my God, I mean, I don't want to say I'm terribly hard on myself, but I mean, I was beating myself up over these thoughts. So it was nice to, I can't necessarily stop the stream that's coming in, but I have the ability to choose which way that they're going to go. They're either going to be something that I'm going to deal with, or I can put them in the armchair, or, so it was nice to have that, to help me, because I didn't experience that before, or get help for that part.
Yeah. And to realize you don't ever have to worry or ruminate, because the only reason we worry is that we think it's getting us a result, that we're going to be finding a solution somehow. But while you're worrying, you never find a solution. The second you know that, you think, oh, I'm not going to worry. I'm going to just, what am I going for here? I want a solution, or I want to get some control, or I want to be prepared. Okay, we'll do that then. Because worrying is not getting you any of it. And that's the other side of the learning as well. And the other thing that's so important is this. It's quite counterintuitive, because we think, if I just hate myself enough, I'll change then. If I just hate that part of me, if I whip myself, if I self-flagellate, then I'll
Yeah.
change, you know. It's all you're doing is compounding the pain you're already feeling even more. You're already feeling like crap, and now
Yeah.
you're rejecting yourself too, which is the worst pain of all. You know, that's the initial problem, is the self-rejection and self-abandonment. And now you're making it even bigger. So that's a big understanding to get as well, that actually you need to love yourself. More cliches, but they're true. You need to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Even the parts, especially the parts that you think are unlovable right now, because that's why you're in pain. So that's another big part of it. That's, of course, it's easy for me to say this consciously, but
Yeah.
you've got to get it, don't you? You've got to get it all the way down. It's yeah.
That was the other thing too. I felt like the metacognitive component really also helped me connect to the physical sensations. I feel like I'm better able to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just being aware that all of my thoughts, everything was kind of emptying into my stomach. So it was nice too to recognize that and to have the strategies to be able to kind of transfer that energy. So
Yeah, that's a really good point, how the mind, the body follows the mind, and what you can't make conscious, we know, what you can't digest, right? Well, it literally can't be digested in the stomach, the whole brain gut connection, and then you get an IBS-y nervous tummy. And so being able to work with the things that you normally wouldn't be able to process out, what you can't speak consciously, the subconscious will have to put it somewhere.
exactly.
So yeah, so that's another big part. The physical symptoms, people say, what about physical symptoms? Can you do anything about that? And it's not that I do anything. The mind just heals and then the body lets go. You're not meant to have all these physical symptoms.
Right.
But they do come about when the psychological or emotional side is suppressed, because where else is it going to go?
Yeah.
So yeah, and so when you started with me, I think your anger was like a 10 out of 10, probably. Like you said, if it could be 11, then I would take 11 or something.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rage that was uncontrollable. And how is it for you now, since you've come through the program out to the other side?
It's insanely better. I mean, I would give it maybe a 2 to a 3, which is a miracle. You know, that to me was the most shameful emotion and feeling. And I remember sitting in church and the priest saying, you know, anger is what separates us from God. And I
Oh,
was sitting
thanks.
there, like, oh no.
Oh gosh. So the priest says anger is what separates us from God. Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting there like, oh no, you know, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know why this is happening. You know, this is what I'm praying as I'm sitting there, like, and I'm wondering why, like, my heart wants so badly to love and to let go and all of that. And I'm just like, I don't know why I'm carrying this. So I would be praying like, I swear I don't want this experience at all. You know, this isn't who I really feel like I am at my core. But, you know, I would joke that the period demon would come for me every month. And that's what would happen. I would just get so angry and I would do everything I could to hold it in, because I didn't want anyone else to feel that and to be in the crossfires. And really, I think I was more angry at myself than anything else. And so, yeah, so, you know, I just remember feeling awful. And then now it's like, that's not even a part of my periods anymore. I feel like I just get, you know, maybe a little bit more edgy than, you know, the other days in the month, but I'm like, this is maybe what the normal period experience is like versus
every woman on the planet can probably recognize, yeah, my husband's breathing way too loud, he's chewing too loud, and how come?
Yeah.
Whatever, right? We've all got that, the sensitivity, we feel everything much more, right?
Yeah.
Everything. But that's okay. That's like, oh yeah, okay, period must be due, feeling a little bit
it's nothing I can't just, you know, either express or take a walk for, or things that I feel like would normally just be helpful. that weren't helpful when I was, prior to the program. And that's the truth. I know for a fact this saved me from that anger. So, so now, of course, with the pandemic, it makes it hard. But, when I was able to go to church, I would walk in and be like, well, I don't have to carry that anymore.
Yeah. My God.
Let that go.
Nothing anymore.
And I really did feel like I was more open to my spiritual experience then, so it really, that it was life-changing for me. And, now if I get upset, even if I'm, away from my period, now when I get upset, the processing is so different. I can almost hear you in my head saying you can communicate calmly, clearly, and effectively.
And I say my voice will go with you. It stays with you. Even when you're not listening to this recording, my voice will stay with you. And I guess it kind of does, huh?
It does. But I love that because it's that reminder to do what I know I can, what I'm able to do. I can communicate well, I can speak my mind. I don't have to hold it in. I can say, yes, I am upset and this is why. And then I can move on. I don't carry it like I used to. It doesn't consume my week. I don't ruminate. It's amazing. Like to just be able to say, I don't really like what you said to me. It hurt my feelings. And I'd like you to not do that again, instead of being like, oh my God, everyone hates me, that, the whole thing.
But internalizing it. See how you have become that loving parent to that little child inside of you. So, you know what, I don't think you should speak to her that way. And I'm not letting that in. I'm not accepting that because I don't believe that about myself. What hurts us the most, isn't it, is the salt in the wound. And the reason that the salt hurts is because it's our wound in the first place. You kind of believe if people say something that's, not that nice. The only reason it hurts is because you're like, yeah, I agree. And you've rejected and abandoned yourself. That's the real pain. And when you reconnect to that love in yourself, people can say their things, everyone's got their baggage. They're all going to be triggered in their own ways. And you can just leave it with them and go, that's an interesting thing to say. Well, I don't know why you would say that. I don't think it's fair or true. So I'd like you not to do that again. Or, so it's very different, isn't it? So you talked about the period demon that would come and get you. Who was the period demon? When it's like a bit like Scooby-Doo, when you pulled off the mask of the period demon, who was underneath?
So who I was without it, you mean?
No, but who did you discover the period demon actually was?
Okay, so the period demon was a protective mechanism that I was using to try to manage not being hurt. So I didn't realize before this program that it was there to protect me, that it was trying to prevent more trauma, I think, from happening to me emotionally.
Yeah.
And it wasn't serving the purpose for me. And like you said, and I think probably one of the best experiences was that day where we were doing the session and I was able to kind of confront it and say, you no longer serve that purpose. You're actually more harmful than helpful at this point. I'm not that little girl anymore that needs someone to do that. I can protect and take care of myself, and I do now. It's incredible. I'm more compassionate than ever towards other people's anger, because now I can understand too maybe where theirs is coming from, and maybe they're not at the point yet where they're able to deal with it, but when it is ours, it is our responsibility to deal with it. And I knew for mine, it was such a long-standing issue, affecting a lot of aspects of my life, and feeling guilty if I did snap or feel like I lost myself to the period demon, and I hated that. And that's not really who I am at my core. So but then realizing it was just a protective mechanism, I think gave me more compassion towards it, because I hated it. I mean, I hated myself for it.
Yeah.
So now I feel like it's gone.
Yeah. And to realize, oh, you just wanted to keep me safe.
Yes.
Oh, you love me, really? Okay. Look, I can see what you were trying to do, but listen, it's not working for me anymore. Thanks a lot, but I'm good.
Yeah.
And then that's all it kind of takes, isn't it? That you step up and say, I can do that for myself now because I'm not 4.
Right.
Or however old you were when you decided that that was going to be necessary to keep you safe. Yeah,
Right.
it's really amazing, and it's so quick. As soon as you have the understanding, that's that. You don't go back. It's fairly instant, isn't it? Like the understanding is instant. Maybe you've still got some of the old patterns that will come and you go to get crossed and you go, what am I doing? I don't need to do that now, and then you little by little come into the new you. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything, if there's some woman right now watching this somewhere in the world, who knows what country, hello wherever you are, thanks for tuning in. What would you say to her, the woman who is watching right now, perhaps where you were, being overcome by rage, perhaps she's a mum, perhaps she's shouting at her kids and feeling really, really guilty and all these sorts of things. What would you say? What do you want to share with her? What would you pass on?
I would definitely say, I was you. I understand. And I would also say that there's this help available. This really is, I normally wouldn't, and my parents were actually shocked that I was doing this, because it's not something I would ever do. And the only reason I wanted to do this podcast is because I wanted to reach that person, and help another woman dealing with this, because I am so shy and introverted. So I'm doing this for that person. And I think that's what I would want her to know, that it's worth it enough to me to say this program will help you, especially if you've been offered X, Y, and Z options that just aren't getting to the root cause, where I feel like this really does address a lot of the root cause, not just symptom management. So it's important, to take care of this for yourself and to heal, and it's okay to give yourself permission to take care of yourself. It's hard for me to even say, but it's true. And I think that's what I want other women to know. It's necessary and it's our responsibility, I feel like. So
yeah, no one else can do it, can they? That's the big realization is it's going to have to be me, and I'm going to own that with the tiny little bit of faith that I have inside, that it's that, isn't it? It's that little bit of faith and that little bit of love that you have for yourself when everything else feels like shame and guilt and not worthiness and all of that. There's a little bit in there, and it's that part of you that's left.
Yeah,
that has to come and rescue, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Rescuing yourself. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Michelle. I really, really appreciate you doing this. Because I know what it takes. It took me years to firstly share my story. I didn't want anyone to know. To go on video, never. Like, I wouldn't even want to Skype with my family back in Australia. Right. This audio is fine, right? So
yes.
But I think RTGs, that's helped me bust through all this visibility fear stuff too in myself. I've worked on myself so that, because it's more important than my insecurities, this stuff. It's
exactly
just look, get over myself and get out there, because there's someone suffering right now who could hear this and their whole life could change, just like yours did, and so many other women who have shared their stories, and many others who haven't shared their stories but whose lives have absolutely transformed. So exactly. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much, Michelle.
Well, thank you.